Holbrook New Media.
This is Jeffrey K. Holbrook. Welcome to the audio feed from holbrooknewmedia.com. Today, Geoff and Jeffrey, the weekly catch-up. We hope you enjoy the audio version. If you want to see what we look like, I will embed the video for this episode at holbrooknewmedia.com.
Hello, everyone. Oh, there goes my phone. And welcome to this week's edition of the Weekly Catch-Up. And my co-host, Jeffrey K. Holbrook. More after this. Good evening.
Good morning.
Well, I'll tell you what, when I was doing the introduction and my phone beeped, well, that was good because that was the beep saying that we're online, that the YouTube stream's online. So I thought, hey, well, that was a real good beep, wasn't it? So,
Yes, it was. Actually, it's also appropriate for something I was going to talk about.
oh, okay. What was you going to talk about?
Well, the phone that I have is almost 7 years old. I mean, I haven't been up to date at all. It started out as a smartphone. Now it's a little more senile, I think.
Stupid phone.
Okay. So, but anyway, I mean, it's been a great phone, and I had an Otter box on it, and I've never broken the screen. You know, I've dropped it a few times and bounced, and you know, the Otter box is supposed to be the best thing ever. So, I bought me another Otter box.
Oh. What one's that?
Let's see if I can get it in the
down a bit. Down. Oh, Galaxy S8.
So back up a little bit. Yeah. Okay.
Is that the Note 7 replacement? We don't mention the word Note.
No, I don't guess so. No, they had the Note was one that was off the side because they had like the S7, and then the bigger one. I guess it was a little S7. This is the one that's not even out yet.
All right.
I have always had this thing about technology, and we've talked about this, is that I usually wait until something quits working, you know, and I'll just use it and use it and use it. Well, I've done that, but then I usually buy something a notch or two above the top, you know, below the top because, you know, it's tested and everything's working. Well, this time I completely threw all that away, and I just went ahead and pre-ordered this, you know, Samsung Galaxy 8 Plus, and it doesn't come out till the 21st. But anyway, and that's the Otter box. They already had the accessories out, so I already had the Otter box. It's got some really good features to it. It's really surprising to me. On board, the phone itself, its main operating memory is 64 gigabytes.
Oh, that's good, isn't it? And does it have a separate card as well?
Yes, it does. And it can handle up to a 256 gigabyte card. Okay.
Incredible.
Those 256 cards, American, are about $150. Okay, so the 128 gigabyte card, you know, the little, it's a microSD card, they're about 50. You know, so it's, I guess the 256s are fairly new. Well, I was looking online at different things, and I actually found the best value.
Oh.
It's a 200 gigabyte card, and it was only $80.
Oh my goodness, that's so cheap, isn't it? Really?
Well, I mean, yeah. Compared to, you know, the 256 is 150, and then 50 for the 128 gig. But the 200 is $80. I'm thinking, wow. I mean, that, you know, that was the best value all the way around. I was really shocked about that.
And now if you haven't got the phone, you're waiting for the phone, are you?
Yes, like you say, I just went ahead and pre-ordered it, and so I am in waiting mode. But my phone hasn't been able to. 6 months ago, it told me I needed to upgrade the Facebook app, and then it told me that I didn't have enough memory to upgrade the Facebook app.
Well, that's what a few of the old phones did. They say you must update your operating system, but to do that, you've got to have a minimum of 32 gigs, and said, well, the phone's only 16.
Right. Yeah,
because
that's it.
Because when you update, it usually uploads the same amount of the operating system, installs it, then deletes the other one, but you've still got to have twice as much. Now, you've got to do me a favor, though, when you get your phone.
What do I got to do?
as soon as you get your phone, you've got to send a picture to Rick and say, "I've got mine before you."
Did he decide to go ahead and order one?
Yeah, I think he's ordered one too because
Okay.
we've been really waiting because he was one of these that had to hand back the Note 7 and he loved that phone. And I must admit, I had the 4, but they are a really good phone. It's just I never took to Android for some reason, and it wasn't because of the phone. They've got plenty of things to do to work it. But the thing is with me, I like my smartphone, but I don't do a lot with it. I make calls.
Wow, how
Very
innovative.
really take pictures. Well, that's stupid, isn't it?
Well, no, I
actually
knew very few people that use their phones to make calls.
That's one. Oh, it makes calls as well,
Yeah.
and that's one of the strange things. I make calls, but also maybe look when you're looking for an app, something to if you're looking for a place, I'd go online for that. But I haven't. I've had this phone nearly 2 years now. I haven't installed another app onto it yet.
Oh, okay.
Because just not bothered about all these things. So just the normal phone suits me fine. So that's why I went back to the Apple, because Android did a great deal more in the phones, and the Samsungs were fantastic with all the different things they did. But the main thing, the killer that I just loved the iPhone for was there's a little button on the side that says off.
Yeah.
And like we did when it said beep, just clicking it off. And that's what I really love. Those others, you've still got to activate the screen, even though you can swipe it down and quickly do that. You've still got to do that swiping down and doing that off on there as well. So that's the thing that just put me off. But other than that, like those, the photos that come out of them and the camera on that, I don't know if you've ever looked at them, but just fantastic. I did some 4K with my Note, and it was just tremendous, the quality that comes out of them.
The camera, the forward-facing camera away from you, is 12 megapixels image stabilized. And then it's got an 8 megapixel camera pointing back at you for selfies and whatever else you decide to do. I'm okay. What I'm planning on doing, we've had this discussion before to where I kind of like dedicated devices for specific things. I'm going to combine as much into that as I can. And so far, I've kind of figured out that it's probably going to replace about 5 different things. Not replace, I'll still use, for instance, my digital recorders. Yes, I will still use those for everything I do. However, I can keep like a small microphone that plugs into it with me and things like that. And especially with all that storage, it is totally capable of recording an interview. If I just suddenly see someone or, hey, would you mind talking to me about that for my show? And then do an interview holding the phone, and actually with a good microphone and actually get a reasonable sounding interview. So that's the digital recorders it could actually help replace. I've been wanting a GPS. Well, you don't really need one now because you would have, it's really all built into it already. So it'll be your GPS. It will replace my Kindle. I have a Kindle Fire, and so I use the Kindle Fire for listening to podcasting on the way to and from work because it's an Android operating system, and also, reading books and things. So I can get a Kindle app. I'll be listening to my podcasting on it, so I'm going to replace the Kindle Fire. Trying to think of what all else that I can replace. A camera. Okay, it's a 12 megapixel camera. Well, it's not, a GH5 or whatever like that, but the best camera in the world is the one you happen to have with you.
And that's right. If you haven't got one, missed it.
And so at 12 megapixels, that's what my little bridge camera that I carry around is. So, and it's got some image stabilization. It's going to be a lot of automatic stuff, but I'm curious to see, again, composition is the one thing that you can't put into a camera. And so I'm curious to see if I can take good, reasonable pictures, the kind, that I showed you all before. They always have some kind of artistic feel to them or whatever. It's, I can make them sepia toned or black and white or something after I get them in the computer. But I'm curious to see if I can get as good a pictures out of that as what I have in the past with some of my other regular dedicated cameras. But anyway, I'll have this thing and I want to do as many things as I possibly can with it. I thought I have a YouTube channel that doesn't have a single video on it. Was set up in 2014 based on a particular email address I had. I thought about maybe making that a personal, what do they call it, a vlog or whatever it is, a personal thing. Yeah, to where I'm able to put videos, just personal videos, not having to do with the podcasting or anything like that. I mean, little short stuff. I see something funny, like today. I stopped at Arby's, which is a roast beef type of a franchise, and got a milkshake. Well, they have this registered trademark, and I mean, it's really catchy. Get this. Arby's is delicious.
Oh, that's fantastic, isn't it? Yeah.
You know what? Okay, they're going to make sure that we don't get to say that without having to pay. I mean, I'm thinking, that's not catchy at all. I mean, why would they register that? And, and so I get on there and say, to the phone, okay, here it is. It might be a 30 or 45-second video, and you just get on there and say, okay, this is what I found today. And, okay. And it's just a personal, like a lot of business people will have a personal blog. Well, this would just be a video version of it. You can actually record it and actually upload it right from the phone.
And that's the thing I've got to really start doing, because we've got all this stuff. We put it onto your channel and just do little things. I'm still overthink things. That's why I love doing this show, is because we
underthink.
Hit the record button. Well, we underthink. But the thing is, when you do the great thing with the live thing, you've done it. Yes, you could edit it after it, but there's no point. It's been out there. You've done it. And so you just, like, I cheat a little bit. Like, I don't do any pre-show. I start it from the beginning, just start it as we want and finish it. So it's already edited. And that's about the only editing we do, is say, okay, we're going to start, and we press the record button and then we start. But that's the great thing with this, is you go there and put it up there. But I've been watching a few people, and I thought, it's just good. It's just getting used to speaking to yourself.
Yes.
Just looking at the camera and speaking about something that you're interested in. But like you said, you've got this damn camera with you now, and those ones, I said, I can't fault them for the quality. The only thing I can fault them with is, like you said about composition, in the daylight, you just hope you've just got the best thing, but really, when you point it in that direction and take it, you're going to get it, and then you can crop it or do whatever. But in like sunlight, I just can't see a damn thing on those phones.
I'll like I say, I'm just going to have to wait and see. But that's what I'm curious about. But all of a sudden, I'm going to have a new camera that happens to be built into the phone. So I'm curious and see if I can actually get some reasonable artistic type pictures with it. The camera that's facing you, that you can actually look at yourself when you're videoing or whatever, is 8 megapixels. That's adequate for a blog type of a thing on YouTube. I mean, that's plenty good, and you can do it anywhere. I mean, that's what's so funny. To do anything, for the social media or anything like that, my phone was so slow and really wasn't doing anything. I really couldn't keep up hardly with Twitter or with Facebook. I can't upgrade the apps, and I would just come home, and any Twittering or Facebooking, most of it happened here at home while I wasn't at work. Well, the phone there is going to have, updated apps, all this stuff, and I'll actually be able to see the emojis that people send and stuff like that.
And that's what I find. Things like when at lunchtime, instead of just sitting there eating my sandwich, I'll sit there and check my personal emails and just see if there's anything happening on there.
Sure.
And they're the sort of things that, yes, you don't mind you come, but it's something you don't have to bother doing when you get home. And there's always moments when you, like, how many times you've been waiting in the Chinese restaurant takeaway. Oh, God. I'll just go, and then you check your emails and do that. But it said that's wasted time. Otherwise, you just sat there waiting and waiting. But they're the sort of things people think you're wasting time. But hey, it stops you from coming home, switching the computer, sitting there. And when you take that effort to put the computer on, you feel obliged to sit there a few hours longer anyway, don't you?
A few hours.
I went to the effort pressing this button and doing that. But I must admit, I would love to get into doing more videos, but the more I sit there, the more I can't get away from it, and that frightens me a little bit. That I thought I'll do that, but I'll end up not doing anything else. But it's a bit of a catch-22. You want to do it, but you just don't want to be sat there all the time doing it, because I know I'd enjoy it too much. Like I can do that. I think I'll just edit this one just a little bit, and then 5 hours later you're still playing around, and it's been finished, but it's just you want to just add the finishing touch to it.
Yeah, my idea for the videos on the phone is just to, I'm talking 3 or 4 little minute things. I've thought about maybe even using some of the just for contact or just for material, for content. Get some of these, famous people, celebrity quotes type of a thing, and then just say what I think of it, and then, hey, you got a 4-minute video, up it goes, and and don't spend a lot of time. I mean, if you really mess up, you don't have to upload it. You can just do it again. So it's not like you're going to lose anything or anybody seeing you right there. And I can do these videos anywhere I happen to be. For instance, today, I'm going to go pick my wife up from the airport. Well, you're going to be waiting for a little bit, before you do. It's a little small local airport. Those commercial flights do come into it, but I mean, it's a little small place, but I'll be waiting there an hour, I'll be there early and I'll be waiting an hour or so. And, if I had that phone, now I'm taking my Kindle and I can read a book or I can listen to podcasting, but if I had that phone, I could sit there and say, hey, waiting for my wife here at the airport, and here comes an airplane. And, I would just be, I'm assuming you could just do Facebook Live with it or whatever,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
And the thing is with the phone the great thing with the phone is, like, you could be at the airport doing that, but if you've got a camera in your hand doing that, the security will come and tell you to stop.
That's entirely possible. Yes.
It won't, but as I said, nobody seems to care about you holding a phone doing that, taking pictures,
right?
Of that. But if you hold a camera, you seem to be treated like a terrorist. That you're scanning the place, but on a mobile, you've got exactly the same quality as you have on a normal camera. But that's what I find. You can get some really good shots with your phone because it's just there, like you said, at the moment. But when you do that, take it out, click it, nobody's there to tell you off. Whereas a lot of the time, if you do that with your normal camera, they'll just say, you can't do that here. And especially if you set up a tripod, you're really in trouble then.
Yeah, I mean, and another thing too, it has a front and a rear facing camera. So you could actually hold the thing up and shoot back over your shoulder with it. I saw something in one video, just briefly mentioned it had a split screen mode. So I'm wondering if it's something where you can use both cameras simultaneously on a split screen, is what I was wondering.
No, it's just more so that you can have more like the two things like your Facebook and your Twitter on the same page at the same time.
Oh, okay, just two open windows like it'd be. Okay.
Yeah, because it's not a big thing on a computer, but it is a big thing on a phone.
Yeah, it was
usually you either see on most of them, you either see that screen or it goes off and you get the other screen.
Well, what gave me the impression it involved the cameras was whenever I saw it go by that he said, yeah, and it has split screen mode and this and this. It showed they were actually using it as like at a show of some kind, and they had them tethered there where people couldn't take them, but it showed him and then it showed the person beyond the camera on the other side in two different screens. That was the impression I had, that's what was happening.
Yeah, it may well be because it's a new phone, and just thinking about that, there's a little Panasonic camera, just a video camera that has that on the thing, which has a camera. Well, let me think about how it's going. Yes, it's got the when you're facing that, but it's on the viewfinder that you're looking at. It's got a camera on that, so you can film yourself.
Yes. And
then it shows you in the corner, but in the corner, not as big as that. So that might be quite right, like you said. Hang it up, put it up, so you say hello, and then you've got somebody in front of you doing an interview, like we're doing now, but just a bit basic.
Well, right. I mean, if you could just hold it up between you, and kind of focus on both of you. Even if you had a microphone plugged in and you were going back and forth, but not moving the camera, because you have it split. That split screen video would be really cool to have on YouTube. I think, if it does it, and again, I don't know everything it does. The first thing I'll do, I've got to, with all the family stuff that's been happening, over the last 2 or 3 months, first thing I have to do is get Facebook up and running, because we've been having these rolling conversations, private conversations in the family about different things going on. And my phone just hasn't been able to keep up with the stuff. I mean, then I come in here real fast and try to catch up, and everybody wonders why I'm incommunicado for a few hours, because sorry, my phone crashed again,
And I'll tell you, you'll really notice the difference because you've been waiting so long. It's like having just brand new technology, but it's been there for everybody else. It's slight upgrade. But the great thing with when you make such a big jump is that now you've got all these extra features that you never had on the phone because your old phone was too horrible to do those things. So and like we said before, you take advantage of that. You do your Facebook, but you're doing your emails. But like you said, you can do your videos more now, whereas you wouldn't have even attempted to do that. But I find when you start using a phone, you just find other little things that's just handy to do for that. And like I'm using mine now to take notes as well. Just some little notes that you might need, whereas you always used to scribble on a bit of paper, stick it in your wallet or something. But I don't now. I'm just getting used to that technology to put it down on the electronic device. But I was reading somewhere that somebody was saying, oh no, to remember it, you're still better off if you'll remember it more if you write it down on a bit of paper.
Mm-hmm.
But I tend to disagree with that because I'll write it down, but then I can't read what I've damn well written. So.
Well, my system, again, there has been no choice to keep notes on that old phone, but my system has been, I have, believe it or not, goodness, from 10 years ago at least, maybe 15, I had some old business cards for a photography business.
Okay.
And so, and I was doing local, some weddings and some, local outdoor portraits. I didn't have a studio or anything, but I was, doing that. And, we were making a little dollar or two here or there. Anyway, I've still got old cards, and I take those business cards and I make little lists on that. And it's roughly the size of my time card that I use at work. So a store list or the things I want to do or whatever is in my pocket beside my time card. So I pull my time card out and get ready to punch out. It's like, oh, hey, I need to go to the store. And so, I go to the store, use my little list, and that's been my system for years now,
But have you seen that other little feature on the phones that whether you can use with the GPS? You can do a note on your phone that says, okay, the wife says, Jeffrey, on your way home from work, you pick up some bread and milk and some eggs or whatever, and you can set a note to say, when leaving work, pick up this. But what it does, as soon as you're about, 500 meters from your place of work, it says you've left work. It's a bing, bing, bing. Jeffrey, don't forget to pick that up. So it's
event driven then.
It really is. So it's because if you allow it, it knows where you're at work because, hey, you've been stood still there for hours. You must be at work. And then it knows, oh, you've moved more. You must be on your way home. It's in the afternoon, and it won't tell you at 11 o'clock if it goes out of your normal time frame. But I thought they're sort of really great notes, and that's when you can't say, because you usually take a note. Yes, you'll remember. But like you said, you've got to remember something to jog for you to look at it. And it's usually when you get home in the door, you take your wallet out, put your keys down, and don't forget to pick that. And as I said, in your situation, I think you're not close to the village, are you? You're sort of a bit away from everything. So it's an effort to go back to the store.
Yeah, I work. Yeah, it would be too far for me to even go back. I would just wait the next day. I'm 25 miles from work. So, but where I work at, there is a Walmart that is just at the bottom of the hill from where my place of employment is, and I come down and I'm facing it. I come to the intersection, and if I go straight ahead, I'll go to Walmart. If I go to the left, then I go home. And so I actually stop at the stop sign, and I'm facing Walmart. So it occurs to me that oh yeah, I was supposed to get some whatever, cat litter, it's okay. And so, yeah. Huh?
I said you could not forget that. And you said, I get a bit spoiled because the shopping centre is only about 3 minutes down the road. You could go there. You forget, but when, like you said, when it's a bit awkward for you, you'd never forget either because you know how awkward it is to get back to it. So, and like you said, you're just looking at the the place that it has all the food, all the groceries, everything. You think, well, if you need anything, this is my last chance to get it. And I suppose you'd think that every night, wouldn't you? You think, well, I'm not going out again.
Yeah, my wife and I were both raised further out in the country, and so we're used to whatever you get, you have to get it on the way in. Whenever she was pregnant, and she would crave a specific hot ham and cheese sandwich from Gino's Pizza. It was an hour round trip for me to get one.
Oh.
And so she would call them as I was on my way out there and be ready to go through the drive-through, and then I would drive that half an hour back, and she would get her sandwich, and I did that a few times. But I mean, she just that's what she craved, was this particular sandwich, and so I'd go out and get her one. But if I wanted to mow grass today, I had to make sure that I had gas for the mower, whenever I came in, because if I didn't, it was an hour round trip to go get gas.
Well, I must say, even though I'm spoiled with it being close by, I've always brought up, just get what you need, and don't go out. Like I've had family who lived in London, and their way of life was always, I need it now, let's go to the shops and get it. But my thing has always been, you go shopping, get what you need, and that's it. Not getting get enough for your shopping and leave it. And I've always lived by that. If there's something on special, if it's not perishable, get a few extra, and just keep it in the cupboard. But I hate running out of things, and so I'm always the one, if you're down to the last 3 or 4 bars of fresh soap, no, the next shopping you've got to get half a dozen or something to keep you up to date. Same thing, I don't like running out of anything. So if you ever came to my house, I'll never run out of cereal. I'll run out of maybe one, but there'll be 3 or 4 other packets of a different one to get there. And as I said, some people say, it don't matter if you run out, you get something else. But I'm not like that. If I make my sandwiches, I have to have my pickle ready. And if if you don't have, it doesn't matter, just use. No, but my routine is pickle. I'll put that on my sandwiches. I can't run out. I just like to have the nice consistency of doing what I want when I want it. So I've always got everything. I tend to go overboard sometimes, but as I said, I hate running out. So I think that's probably like everything else I do. I hate being late. I tell you,
if I have a nightmare, it's about being late for work.
Yes.
I mean, but I could, as long as I've been there and everything, and I'm never late, I could totally pull that off, and they would go, "Oh, okay." But I have nightmares about that. If I'll be having a bad dream, and it's about something making it to where I didn't make it to work on time. That's what a bad dream is for me.
Yeah, I have that too, and I was saying to somebody else, I said, if you ever invite me around and you see this strange person hanging out the front of your property, it's me, because I always get there early. But I won't come in. If you say I'll come round at 8, I'll be there at 8, but I might be there at I'll be there at 2:15. But I'll just, well, why don't you come in? I said, no, you're not expecting me till 8, but I'll just wait. But as I said, I'm not going to be still driving and come at 8:05 because you're expecting me. And it's the same thing when somebody says, "Oh, I'll come and pick you up at 8." I'm sat out the front waiting at 8, and then they come at 8:15, that really annoys me, because I don't just sit in the house and wait for a beep beep or somebody knocking at the door. I'm here. I think they've done the nice thing by coming to collect me, so I have to be there waiting for them.
Well, sure.
It's compulsive.
It's an integrity issue. It's an integrity issue. I mean, if I tell somebody I'm going to be available at a certain time, now, I mean, yes, emergencies can happen, but I'm going to be there. I mean, I plan on being there, and to me, it is an integrity issue. I didn't plan on lying to them. I plan on being there at 8 o'clock. And again, it's not casual. That is an appointment. That is something that I've promised to do, and I will be there. And it bothers me when people are so casual about what they say, and then, oh, well, he'll understand if I'm 10 minutes late. No, you said you would be here then, so I get there early. Fortunately, my daughter inherited that particular gene from me about being prompt and being early, to make sure you're prompt. And, she's very, very, has a very ordered structure to her life, very similar to mine.
But it's also like with the mobile phones and the cell phones as well. Is if you do the right thing, like you're always on time. Like my thing is, I always call people back if I miss their call.
Mm-hmm.
I always call them back. Some people say, "Oh, it doesn't matter. I know what it's about." I don't care if I know what it's about. They've phoned me, and if they can't get through to me, I phone them. So anybody who phones me and can't get through to me, know that I'm busy and I can't do it. Whereas a lot of other people think, oh, they're just not answering the phone. And same thing, like you said, with being on time. If I'm not there, somebody knows something's happened, because he said he's never late. So you don't have to go and explain yourself. He said, well, I know you're always there. And that's the thing, is people get used to being late, and they're always are. But as I said, you've just got to keep the right thing. Just come on time when you say you're going to be there, because people just give up on you, I think, on the phones. I know I have on some people. If they never call you back after about half a dozen times, I don't bother phoning them anymore. I thought, well, and that's why I didn't call. I said, well, you don't call me back when I want to, so I give up on calling them back. But
even around here in the rural area like that we live in, phone calls are something that are really kind of obsolete. Yes, they're available, and you call, and if you have something to say, then you leave them a quick message. But for the most part, you send a text, or now it's actually being this online Facebook little rolling thing. You just start a conversation, and and it surprised me whenever we first got cell phones at all. It surprised me how nice being able to text was. Because we would call, if you call somebody and they're not available, you can't talk at all. But you can carry on a slow motion conversation over the course of a day by texting. She'll say, hey, I need you to stop and get this at the store. And then an hour later, I'll text back and say, wait a minute, didn't we also need this? And she'll say 20 minutes later, oh, yes, I do need that. Well, over the 8 hours that I'm working, we had... each said maybe 3 or 4 things. And then we have a finalized store list at the end of the day. And then I look at my phone, I've got the entire list, and then I go to Walmart that I happen to be facing whenever I come out of the road at work. So, it's just one of those, the texting makes it to where you can just say it and forget it and then come back and check it. And it's very convenient.
It was, it's funny you should say about that, but I don't know if you remember when the Nokia phones were out there, just the normal cell phones, and they just sort of introduced a text that were very primitive, and it was sort of very costly, so not very many people had it. I had this friend called Ed, and this friend of his called him and says, what do you want? He said, well, you called me. And he said, no, I never. Well, it said, I got a text said call Ed. And what it was, it just missed a call on the phone. It said called.
I can see what you were doing.
It said, and I thought, because people wasn't, but it used to just say, never used to say the number. It just said called, that somebody called. Mm-hmm. And he found him and he said, it said call Ed. I said, no, it said ced.
It's like the old English way of saying it in a poem. Call Ed.
It was just funny that because I was so excited. Oh, they must be using this new technology, because it was sort of only this really smart people and the people could use these text messages, because they were quite primitive in the early days. I remember we used to use them at one of my jobs that I had years ago in the 80s. And what I had to do was every day you had to text the the regional manager with the store figures. So he'd have all the figures, and then they would correlate that. Then the managing director would know all the figures at the end of the day. But what you had to do, you had to call a message service.
Yes.
Give all the PIN number, but you had a code the way you said it, because it cost you a fortune if you said. So you had to say, well, what you just say is, all you just do is, your store number, space, and the money amount. That's all they wanted to know. So because they thought if it got too much, they paid a fortune for it. And then when you had to call him on this car phone, And I thought, and that was really in the 80s. It had a car phone, so you thought every call you made probably cost you about $300, I think, back then, because there were a fortune, weren't there, when there was just a car phone anyway.
I think it's a funny thing. One of the early phones that we got, my wife wasn't interested in texting at all. And this is when it had a physical keyboard on it, and the whole thing was about this big, and it was
yes.
an LCD screen, and it had a, just a physical keyboard on the thing.
Yeah.
It would actually slide, and then you could do the
I
keyboard.
remember that one, Nokia one. That was I remember that was one.
I think that was the actual brand of it. But what happened was, I got one that you could text with, and my daughter got one that you could text with. And my wife said, well, I'm not interested in that. I'll just get a little, what we now call flip phones, but it was just a plain old phone.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then I would send her a text, which she could actually read, on her screen. And then our daughter would send a text or whatever. And so pretty soon she started trying to figure out how to text back. And so she has just a regular 9-digit, 9-button 10 button keyboard, and you have to go 1, 2, 3, to get the one you want within a certain period of time, TER, whatever. And so she got really good on that little 10-digit keypad texting. I mean, and then the next time we had to get phones, she was like, I think I want one with a keyboard, and I'm like, okay, that'll be fine. And what's funny is we have a 12-foot Christmas tree. We don't bring it out every year, but it's just 12 feet. So we have, whenever we put this tree up, we have all of these ornaments that basically tell our story. Our very first ornament was, the year we were married. My parents got a first Christmas together in 1983. And I don't mean these fancy ones you buy at Hallmark or like that. I'm talking about a lot of them are just objects that we had. And believe it or not, those phones, my wife's and my cell phones, I found a place in the top where I could drill a very small hole through them. The phones still work. And then you hang them on the tree amongst all the other paraphernalia, and those are actually Christmas ornaments now. And whenever we make our story tree up there, and it's hilarious, these old phones, but they're funny now. But back then they were hot stuff.
Well, I remember though, as you're saying about texting, and I had the earlier Nokia phone that had just the normal keys on it. And what really annoyed me, when it just got to the end where you was getting an iPhone or something with a proper keyboard, I just figured out, somebody just showed me just near the end, no, you're doing it all wrong, because I was doing the same thing. I was pressing, A 3 times to do a letter, B 4 times to do a letter. But they said, no, they've got a presumptive feature on there. So you just type that, what do you think it is? If it was bread, just type the B key and the R. You don't have to press 3, and it figures what you're going to say.
Wow, that's convenient.
And it was, but I just figured that out. I thought, I've been struggling just to say yes by doing, pressing that 3 times to get the Y, W, X, Y, and that, doing all these things. And all I had to do was just do Y, E, S, and it would figure it out. It said, well, I know you're not going to do wax the mum. It used to figure out that you wanted to do yes. If it didn't know, it'd give you a choice. It said, that one. And that's what I've just always wondered. How do people do these so fast? And it was said, yes, I just figured that out when the phone was no longer needed. You had proper keyboards now. And then it's a sort of feature that's taken ages, but now, like the iPhone or most of now when you start typing, they assume you mean a particular word, and then they start, so you can point on it and do that. But you still have to, but like I said, all of them have got the proper keyboard, and it's like magic to do. Everybody can do it fairly quickly now, can't you?
And there's another thing I noticed too. And one thing that really worried me about texting when it first started was that people developed initially this heavy-duty shorthand. That was, that's where the smiley face started, and the, all this stuff like that. But it was just like, and old folks like me, I'm like, what in the world? And so, but I just, when you think of it, everybody in my family, we're using pretty much complete sentences because it does give you the words to use instead of that. But then I texted to somebody the other day that I texted maybe once in my life, and it was an extended family member, and
Mm-hmm.
she started replying with shortcuts like TY,
You,
thank you,
yeah,
YW, you're welcome. And I'm interpreting as I go, but I mean, I had not gotten any shorthand like that in years.
because everybody can type. It's easy enough to type, and the presumptive thing will suggest it, so you always say the correct thing. But then again, there is things on the internet. I think we've said before, you can spend hours of laughing just what people have texted to each other people when they've made a mistake, trying to make a shorthand hand thing of it, and it's just so funny how easy it is to make a mistake when you're trying to do a little bit of shorthand. And I remember we did have in the retail one where I did, and somebody shortened the word analog tuner, and it didn't come out very nice. And then somebody said, "Oh, you'll figure out what it is." It says, "Is that what it is, or where you insert it?" Because they shortened it, so it didn't say analog.
Yeah.
It says what it is or where you insert it.
Well, these things can get out of hand quickly.
But that was on an advert.
You could start a war. I mean, you have to be careful about this stuff.
I said that was on an advertisement, saying the Pioneer. It was on one of theirs, their analog tuner, but cut short. Said, "Gee, that's interesting. Never seen one of them before." So,
is it a new feature with the Pioneer, receiver? Yeah.
That's right. That's right. But it's just amazing, all the new things. And I was just saying today, well, not today or yesterday, I just switched on the computer because I thought, I'll get ready, set up ready for the show. I always like to check it. And then all of a sudden I've got this weird, it wouldn't boot up. And I just had all this text error on the screen. I don't know what it can't find this, wouldn't boot up. Last night, and I'm nearly saying, I better tell Mr. Holbrook there's no show going to be tonight. So I had to do it in a safe boot and then rebooted it. Then it worked. But if I just switched it on, then I came home tonight to switch it on, same thing. Really like it's totally died. But I did a safe boot like you do on a Windows machine, and then rebooted it from there, and it seemed to work. So I don't know what's wrong with it, so I was expecting it not to start up, but I started it up about 4:30 when I got home from work, started that, and I've left it on since, and I was too scared to switch it off. I thought I got it on. I'm going at it can stay on for a while. So.
Oh, definitely. One of the things I'm finding with my Windows computer, remember I've told you I've had some booting problems with it. Well, I've had good success just leaving the thing on. And you walk away, and of course the screens go off, and all that stuff. And I will turn it off 2 or 3 times a week at least. But I found on CNET there's this app called C Cleaner, and actually you can use it to it'll clear out extra junk on your computer. It's an advanced form of what Windows gives you, and it'll clean your registry too. It'll back up your registry and then clean it. And so as long as I run that every so often, the computer doesn't bog down, like they do if you leave them on all the time. And I always do it right before I do any editing on the audio for this show, or anything I'm getting ready to do. Before I do the show, I just ran it a little while ago, and it takes seconds. Within a minute I can clean the registry and clean all the junk off the computer. Just boom, 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 gone. And then it'll within a minute it's all over, and the computer is running very nicely, and there you go. I actually downloaded it the other day. I have a 32 gig tablet that has actually a keyboard and stuff, and it's small enough I keep it in my lunchbox, carry it back and forth to work in case I want to do some type of compose a blog post or something like that, and it had been really slow, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. I thought, wait a minute, this is Windows 10. Let's try that C Cleaner. So I went and downloaded it, and it took a big bunch of junk out of there. The registry was clogged up pretty badly. I was really surprised. And buddy, then that thing's running like a top again. So, hey, it's a free download.
It's the thing is with Windows machines, it always used to be a program, the defragging
Yes.
machine program, and that used to be a ritual because whenever you write something to a hard disk, it doesn't write it all in the one line. It just writes it where it can,
Mhm.
and after a while, once you've deleted it, it's all over the place. So, and that's like you're doing with the register. You used to defrag it,
Mhm.
and then it used to take it all and put everything in the right order, and used to speed it up.
Contiguous, I believe, was the term.
But I don't know. It's not the sort of thing that people say to do these days, but hard disks haven't changed. They don't automatically do that, do they? Unless something's changing without me.
Well, a lot of machines, and I know Windows 10, they have a tendency to have a maintenance schedule. Now, whether or not, if you use the recommended settings, I figure they set you up a maintenance schedule. And if you leave your computer on, then it'll automatically do it without you paying any attention. But to me, I started out with DOS machines as far as IBM based computers. And so you had to do all that stuff manually. I mean, and you installed DOS, and then later you installed Windows, and you knew everything on your computer because you put it there. It wasn't stuff being done to you the way it is today. Your computer's constantly downloading stuff, and you don't even know what's going on.
And the thing is, like, I switch this Mac off every time I don't use it, because when I switch it on, usually when it's working fine, it only takes about 20 to 30 seconds to get up to speed.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I've got the MacBook Pro. If I switch that off, it can be bloody 5 minutes before I can get it. It really does annoy me. It takes 5 minutes before it gets going. So I always leave that on. I just close the lid, and it may get rebooted once every 6 months when there's a software change which says requires a reboot, because it just seems to take such a damn long time. I don't know whether it's something in that machine, but it's never been any better. But surely it must be like my desktop, as I said, takes a few seconds to just a boom and it's there, and so I don't bother leaving it on because it's just not worth it. But like you said, if that makes it go any better, I might start leaving it on because it just goes into the hibernation mode. The only thing is if I don't switch it off, my big hard drive sort of goes into sort of sleep mode, whereas if I switch the machine off, it switches itself off if it's inactive, but while it's in sleep mode, it says, I could still be asked to come on, so it keeps it on power low rather than switching itself off. Whereas if I switch the machine off in 5 minutes, that powers down and then powers up, and I don't want that on wearing around all the day, because they've only got a certain amount of life in them, and I'm always worried when's that life going to give up on it and lose all my
because you're using those hours, like they say, well, this light bulb will last this many hours, or if you leave it on all the time, then those hours are being used. That is for sure.
And Rick's got his new cameras, his GH5. So I still haven't ordered mine yet. So, but there's been a bit of controversy going around on the internet this week about people and the autofocus and all that. So there's, but then again, when there's a lot of delay and there's a ton of people getting them, there's always going to be a lot of controversy with the particular thing on there. But anyway, but they're still damn good cameras.
Yeah, and I'm sure they are, because I know you guys have had GH5 in the title of all the tech down overs for the last while, and I've kind of noticed you're getting a little bit of search engine traffic out of it.
I'm just over. We want to talk about something else.
But now, like I say, you get a lot of views off of that because that's what everybody's looking for.
But now some negative ones around. It started it up again.
Yeah. Let me ask that link I sent to you about the voiceover thing that I did, the poetry versus in Vox.
Yes.
Did you have a chance to listen to that?
I listened to it twice.
No, twice even.
I said it was excellent. I like that, and I'll listen to it again later But isn't it amazing that you do such a great job? But just with them putting that little bit of music, the bit of the hammer hitting the anvil type thing, and just the horse, just that little bit of
drama. It adds a dramatic effect to it. What's funny is they do all that in Oklahoma. And I believe it's Oklahoma where Porchlight Family Media is based. I did the voiceover back here in the booth back here with the with the condenser mic and a little small 4-channel mixer and a Zoom H2N recorder, and it was just in
And a,
there.
and a
Huh?
couple of coconut.
Oh yeah,
Couple of coconut.
yeah. A
Doing the sound
shrubbery.
effects. But you doing all the sound effects in there as well.
Yeah, but like you say, all I did was do the voiceover, and then I just attach it to an email and send it to them, and then they just take it and someone does original music, someone does original artwork, and engineer guy does they do the sound effects, and then they just make a production out of it, and the whole thing's less than 3 minutes long. Well, that's one of the things that's so cool about those things. They're just doing classic poetry, so you end up with something that is just a pleasure to listen to, just really short, and whenever it's over with, you're kind of like, I wanted it to go on longer.
Yeah.
You just feel like you're kind of deprived because it didn't last very long, but that's as long as the poem was.
But that sort of worries me a bit with the way the whole society is going. People are missing out on things like that because people don't bother so much with reading a book, and a lot of things where poetry was a lot of reading. People don't just go and listen to poetry. They sort of get into it and read it first, I think. But as I said, I was seeing something else, and people just aren't reading. And I know myself, I'd love to be able to get a book and just sit down and read, but you always think you've got something better to do. There's always something that you don't want to be sat down for 3 hours reading a book. But I'd love to do that. But I haven't read a book properly for years, I wouldn't think.
Well, I mean, I do. I keep one of the things I found out at work that I did finally give in to, where I read books on the Kindle. And I plan on, of course, getting a Kindle app on the new phone. But the Kindle, I read books on there, and I just have it available. I'll use the Kindle to listen to podcasting on the way to and from work. But then when I get to work on break or lunch or something, if nothing else going on, I just have an ongoing book in the Kindle that I'm reading, at any given time. And so the Kindle makes it possible, if you're eating lunch, you're not holding on to a book and trying to hold it open. All you have to do is go turn the page. I've got it on a little easel type. The folder. My wife is really good about getting the cases for these things, and she found one that the back folds over and it stands up, right in front of you like that. And so it's in front of me. I'm eating, and I just take my little finger and go, and turn the page every time I have to turn the page. And so you can still eat with both hands. Whereas if you have a proper book, then you're trying to hold it open and then eat a sandwich or whatever you're eating. And, and so it's just a lot more convenient while you're having lunch to go ahead and use the Kindle. Now, sitting here at home, I plan on setting myself up in this room, actually, over on that side, a nice chair with a lamp over top of it, and have books around me and my bookcases and everything like that, and sit down and read proper books. And I don't think I'll smoke a pipe, but I could, I'll be looking all official and stuff.
I just can't get into books on a Kindle. I just still like a proper book. I do read things on a Kindle type thing, but it's more so maybe it's a book on photography, and I don't call that reading. When it's about something like that, it's to me, reading's a novel or just something, but not just a reference thing. But I read, because you always read about something in photography, something on technology, electronics, but on the Kindle. But when it's a book, I just like that. You just pick it up. And the thing is, you put a bit of paper in it, you know where you are, you throw it down, you can pick it up again.
Sure.
But with the electronic ones, I tend to not be able, I thought I'll read a little bit before I go to bed to sleep. But with the Kindle, I always fall asleep doing that, whereas I don't with a proper book.
There you go. No, it honestly takes a lot more physical control to read a book. I mean, you're balancing the book. You're trying to keep it from falling and closing. Whereas on a Kindle, it's just there, and you just do a little quick flip and you do it. Yeah, I mean, a book requires you have to wrestle the thing to read it.
And the funny thing is, I like a nice new book, but if it's all grotty and horrible, I don't like reading it.
I like old books. I like old books in good condition, but they need to have that smell.
Yeah, they've got to have that be nice, not and if they're nice and really good, but they've got that old smell. That's really good.
Oh
but
yeah, no, that's exciting. I love the smell.
the old books and that. So that is really good on that. So, but yeah, we've covered a whole multitude, but it's been more of the weekly tech catch up this week, hasn't it?
Yeah, like you say, we had techie stuff to talk about, but I have good expectations for this phone. All the things that just as I've been studying on it and what it's about, the different things I can do with it, and I plan on again combining several devices into this one thing. Now, if it doesn't work, I'm going to be severely disappointed. If it blows up and the battery starts eating the rest of the world, then I'm going to be upset.
I don't think it will. I think that this one with the Sam is going to be one of their best phones, and there won't be any trouble with it because they've gone through so much problems with that other one. And let's face it, they had all those other ones that they didn't have any trouble with.
Right. And yeah, that's what I was looking at.
And I think it's just everybody was pushing and pushing for the size and that, and it just was made all wrong, and they know that. Like as I said, it's all those phones will have that problem if somebody pierces the battery.
Sure.
But I think it was just done too tight or something like that. They're not going to do that again. And as I said, if people are worried about phones, if anything, that will be the safest phone in the world, I would think.
That's kind of what I'm banking on, because I never buy the latest thing. I'll always let everything be tested and proven before I buy it. But that was what made I think one of the final things that maybe made that leap was the fact that they did have so much trouble out of that other phone, and I knew they are the leader on the Android side, and they are not going to jeopardize that and give that up. This is, whoever's running the company is actually sleeping with one on his head, so that he will, commit, seppuku if it is, there's anything wrong, and it's going to get him first, because they are not going to let this phone fail because they can't afford to.
And the things, it might have some features that it might not have normally had to draw people back, because they've lost a lot of market share from that. But they've got those people who went away, won't take them much to bring them back, because if you like an Android, to me, if you like Android, you've got to have a Samsung, because I think they're the best. I just like them as the best. There's all these other ones that look really good, but never seem to deliver the things of the Samsung. But they do a good product.
Oh, they do. They do. Another thing they're introducing is called Bixby. So, how you can do Cortana or whatever. You can actually be somewhere, like take a picture of a building, and then the Bixby app will actually recognize the building and then tell you, you just take a picture and say restaurants, and it will tell you restaurants right around that building.
So
it's actually a recognition thing to where it'll actually recognize, for instance, the Flatiron Building, or the, any of the local landmarks, any type of monuments or things like that. I don't think it'll recognize my house, but things that are well known, specific buildings, like in Charleston, probably the Terminal Building is probably recognizable, But yeah, it'll do that, and actually you can use photographs to give it the impression of the area that you're in and what you want to do.
Well, all I think of whenever you mention Bixby is My Favorite Martian and The Incredible Hulk.
Bill Bixby.
Bill Bixby, because he was in My Favorite Martian, wasn't he? And then The Incredible Hulk.
And it's like, you don't want to make me angry.
You don't want to make me angry. And he was such a weakly type person, wasn't he, in there? But he was.
He was afraid of getting angry, so afraid that it made him angry.
That's right.
Dun, dun,
I'm
dun.
angry because I'm getting angry on that. But it's amazing. Like they said, one of the next thing is the augmented reality for phones and cameras and that. And that's the sort of thing where you point your phone at somewhere, like say, I don't know, pointed at you, but it'll have an arrow saying Jeffrey K. Holbrook or things like that.
Well, yeah, big facial recognition thing.
It's an Audio Technica R3 microphone. But that's the sort of thing. It's going to be incredible to do that, like people are doing it for translation, but you point it to something. What's that? Oh, that's an iMac, whatever number it is. They're the sort of things that's going to be interesting. It'll take a while for it to get up and going, but it's just quite interesting, isn't it? All the different things that they do get.
Well, they do have a virtual reality headset that this phone will fit into that they wanted to sell me. I'm not ready to do that. I'm not so much of a gamer, and sure, that'd be fascinating for a month, and then it would just be a waste of money for me.
Yeah, well, me too, because it's, as I said, augmented reality I can see, because when you're looking at the normal world, and I can see like that HoloLens from Microsoft, because how they sort of show it's like somebody will call you on Skype, and they said, well, how do you do that? And then they'll be and you'll see their arrow pointing to your camera and say, now turn this knob. And that's the sort of thing. Can you imagine a service person, if they're trying to help you and they can get you on Skype with you point at the thing, and then through your glasses or something, you can see there, now turn that anti-clockwise, and this one, yep, that one. Whereas they don't have to keep directing you, they can point to it, and that's just going to be fantastic, I think, when that gets up and going. Well, looks like we've gone to another hour of the show, so the weekly catch, that was show number 40, so number 41 coming up next week. So all going well, we should be available if my computer hasn't blown up by then, but Apple's been so slack they haven't put a new one of these out for quite some time, so I can't be tempted in buying a new one because there's nothing really new out of late. So might have to be tempted to go back into the Windows world.
What?
So you never know. But then again, me hard. I'll have to get something with a Thunderbolt connection for me hard drive and that. But it's we'll just see what happens anyway.
No, you just have to get a fancy phone like Rick and I are getting, and then you can hook your Thunderbolt connection into that.
Well, that's right. I've got the fancy iPhone, but not as fancy as your S8. Because yours
give it a week. There'll be something else out.
Your S8's just going to, take over the world. I think it's just going to be fantastic. So, well, it better be with all the hype about it. So, but I think for what you want it for, it's just going to do. But as soon as you do the video on it, because you'll be so pleased with it. I know I did a little video on my Note 4, and that was just really fantastic video quality. I just really did like that. Anyway, thank you for that, Mr. Holbrook.
Yes, sir. And
we'll leave that there until same time next week. But it's earlier for me, so now while we're finishing, it's only 9 o'clock. So
congratulations.
That's much better than 10 o'clock. So, okay. Thanks for everybody for watching. And we'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Thank you so much for listening. Links for a free subscription, feedback, and everything else we do is at holbrooknewmedia.com. You can find all things Geoff Blanchard at geoffblanchard.com.